じゃあもう一個ねどうしても聞きたかったのこれあえて聞くよこれも俺らの見解はあえて言わないけどストリートファイターコミュニティと鉄拳コミュニティの違いってどこでが一番感じる？もしくは全然違いがないって言うんだったらそれでもいい。
This might be a controversial answer. But I feel like for the Tekken community, they actually like their game. For Street Fighter 5, and the game's improved a lot over the years. I think it's in its best spot that it's been now. But when it initially came out, I heard a lot of people call it Obligation Fighter 5. Because at least on the competitive side or the pro gamer side, they felt obligated to play it because they had no other game to play.
いやでも鉄拳は鉄拳で俺はもうコミュニティよく見てるから分かるけど鉄拳は鉄拳でアメリカでもずっと文句言ってる人はいっぱいいると思うけどね、あんまそこは変わんないのかなと思うけど。
The people that complain though are the most vocal usually. The people that are content usually don't say anything. I'm sure you guys have learned that through the many years, but it's the one key point that sticks out to me is if you look at some of the other esports programs for these games where it's very driven by prize money, you guys didn't really start doing prize money until more recently, right? But you guys still had the numbers. So that tells me a lot that people were passionate enough to play and enter tournaments even without the prize money or the glory like that.
っていうかどっちかというと昔のゲームセンターコミュニティのノリだよね。なんか大会あるからみんなで行こうみたいなね。
なんか満足してる人は何も言わないけど文句はうるさい人が言う。
いやそれはどのゲームでも一緒かな。もうファイティングゲームに限らず全てのゲームで、特に日本はそうなのよ。日本はこれ別に日本批判じゃないよ。俺は日本を批判する意味じゃなくて特徴として満足してる人はやっぱり普通に黙ってる。で文句言う人はやっぱり声が大きい。でだけど俺の印象からするとアメリカもそうだし特にヨーロッパはそうだけど不満もすっごいストレートに言うけど俺はここが満足してるここが大好きってこともはっきり言うじゃん。だからポジティブとネガティブ両方はっきり言う。で日本はどっちかっていうと満足してることはあえて言わない。で強いて言えばここが不満っていうことをむしろ強調して言うみたいなそこの違いはあるよね。どっちがいいってわけじゃないんだけど、あとはね俺ちょっとこれマークマンに聞くべき質問じゃないんだろうけど前からちょっと聞こうと思ってたのね。アリスっているじゃん。アリスは実は鉄拳コミュニティの人から鉄拳プレイヤーに見えるけど実は彼はソウルキャリバープレイヤーじゃん。彼がなぜ鉄拳よりもソウルキャリバーが好きなのかっていうのはすごい不思議なんだよね。なんでかっていうとアリスって俺らから見たらそんないや実は彼繊細だっていうのはもう知ってるんだけどパッと見ソウルキャリバーよりむしろ鉄拳好きそうなタイプに見える。
やからかみたいな。
そうあんまりソウルキャリバーみたいな繊細なストーリーがある方を好まないようなイメージがあるんだけどなんで彼はソウルキャリバーが一番大好きなのかちょっとマークマンなりの見解を聞きたい。
I think a lot of it stems from how you get into competitive fighting games, and that was really the first game where he kind of learned competitive games on an international level. I mean, he was the Soul Calibur 2 world champion, right? So that game, it has like a special place in his heart. So he has like a certain affinity towards that game. So, I mean, I know he's a big fan of both, but it's changed over the years because, Soul Calibur is not the same as it used to be. I mean, 2 was obviously his favorite.
2 is a lot of people's favorite.
It's a lot of people's favorites. But yeah, I think it's just, for a lot of people, it's like, what's your first love when you get into games? And for him, I think it was Soul Calibur 2.
あんまみんな知らないけどアリスは世界チャンピオンだったソウルキャリバーの。
I miss that guy.
そうね、俺は会いたいね、久々にね。
Yeah, I talk to him every now and then. He might not go to Evo this year. He's playing it very safe in terms of the pandemic. He stays home most of the time. He just keeps to himself. He's an interesting person. Aris, I've talked to him a lot during the pandemic, maybe more than I've ever talked to him. So sometimes we'll check on each other. I had a very interesting conversation with him. Earlier this year, I got very sick. I got very ill. I had a lung infection. So it was very difficult for me just on my regular day-to-day basis. And Aris told me that, hey, you need to chill with work. you need to focus more on yourself and making sure that you feel good about what you're doing. Because if you can't, work or function, who's going to take care of your family? Who's going to take care of what you care about? If you can't take care of yourself, that's what you should focus on. And I never thought of it that way until kind of he told me that. And I didn't expect him to tell me that either. So his stance is to just do what makes yourself happy. And I think it's such a great methodology or way of living is to just kind of focus on that because, in the pandemic, it's been so tough for everybody. I mean, I'm sure everyone watching at home has had not only their problems with adjusting with work, but also their personal life. And I'm going to be very honest, it's been so hard. And I think we talked about this at the start, but I hope everyone's taking care of themselves because there's a lot of people that once they get to a point or the breaking point, it's hard for them to live life like before the pandemic again.
まあそうだよね。日本も大抵はそうだよね。ただまあ日本人はでそういうことをなかなか身近で言ってくれる人はそんなにいないよね。
ない。
特にゲーム開発者は。
で例の件の締め切りは大丈夫ですかみたいな。
ミッションに対してのこうなんだろうな忠誠心というか自分の健康を害してでもこれをやり遂げるみたいなね、自己犠牲みたいなのが結構日本人は強いからちょっとそこは違うかもしれないね。すごいスニーカーファンじゃないで彼コレクターとしてもね特にナイキが好きですごい集めてるのは知ってるんだけど何足ぐらい持ってる
In total, well, let me say this first. When I collect something or I become a fan of something, I become very passionate about it. So for sneakers, I have maybe about 350 pairs.
ビリーバボ
でそれ履くのコレクションな
Do
の
you wear them or
I try to wear them. I mean, I don't leave the house anymore, so when I go out, I do like to wear them, yes.
all of the 350 or there's something?
Maybe more than half I've wore.
半分以上は履いてるよ。
鉄拳の三島和也がさ和也三島は一応趣味がスニーカー集めっていうことにしてるんだけど、まあ、せいぜい俺ら100か200かと思ったんだけどマークの方が多かったんだね。
すごいね。
Wow, that's still
That's not
that's still a
even
lot.
だけど俺はスニーカー集めっていう和也の趣味からちょっとマジでスニーカーコレクターってどうなってんのかなって調べたんだけどでも俺調べた時に結構衝撃受けたのがスニーカーって保管できないはずなんだよね。あれ接着剤とかあと加水分解と加水分解って英語でなんていうのかな言ったことないんだけどその加水分解その湿気のせいでそういうプラスチック製ラバー系が溶けちゃって分解されていっちゃうっていうのとあとその接着剤が剥がれるっていうので、スニーカーって保存が効かないものだからコレクションしても俺腐っていくだけなんじゃないかなってイメージがあるんだけどどうして置いときたくなるのっていう。
They do. That's I think the problem with collecting too is because I'm collecting because I like the history of them. I like the design. So for me, if I can't wear them because maybe they're too old, I still want to display them or have them in my collection just because of sentimental value.
まあ
It's very different. It's very different in Japan because you guys have a more limited space, but because I inherited my house, it's all over the house, so I have more space.
まあそれは違いはあるよね。
It's not even sneakers are not even my biggest collection.
何のコレクションなの
？Arcade sticks and video games.
ゲーム自体とアーケーコンですね。
これ俺の質問じゃないんだけど翔平大谷いるじゃん、彼が日本では毎晩ニュースに出てくるんですよ。俺も彼はすごいなと思うんだけど、
ハさんうちの会社スポンサーなんで。
そうなんだ。あんま興味ないなってこれはうちの実はバンダナの方がスポンサーやってて彼が打ってるところの球場の後ろにバンダナの方が出てくるんだよね。エンジェルスのねその中継で出てくるんだけどなんだろうね結構俺が知ってる範囲では割と日本のベースボールプレーヤーがすごいアメリカで騒がれてるって印象で日本のニュースでは流れるんだけど俺がアメリカに行ってる限りは野球ファンの間でものすごいメジャーなんだけど別に一般的にそんなに騒がれてるわけではないなっていう感覚もこう一方ではあるんだけど実際のところ 翔平大谷になってから俺らアメリカに行ってないからどんなの
I think because he was in the running, you know, and carrying his team, especially last year, and he was always in the spotlight. You know, it's very rare that we have a player that is not only an all-star pitcher but also leading in home runs. So for the fans, it's super exciting to be able to see a player of that regard. But on top of that, he's also Japanese, which is very, very rare. We've never seen. I mean, it's very rare that we have Japanese players in general, right? In Major League Baseball. So I think it has helped grow the popularity of baseball overall, not just with the typical fans, but also the Japanese fans, maybe even Asian Americans as well, paying more attention to baseball in general. Yeah, and you know, he has like one of the biggest honors, and maybe it's different on perspective, but because I'm a gamer, whoever's on the cover of the latest, you know, MLB baseball game, usually that's a very high honor, and he's the cover star this year. So I think that goes a long way in showing how big his popularity is. Yeah, in the past, it's very interesting actually, because usually game companies would have multiple SKUs where they would have a Japanese player on the cover in Japan, but the US version is a different player. But this is the first time it's been a Japanese player globally on the cover.
まあそうだよね。ちょっとね、イチローと大谷ぐらいかな、本当にそうなったんです。
Do you guys follow American baseball a lot?
アメリカの野球好きなの？
結構見てるよ、俺はね。俺はもう日本は結構やっぱり野球メジャーだったから。
Yeah, I don't follow baseball as much as I used to, but I'm always diehard for my local team. So I'm a San Diego Padres fan.
ああ、すごい。
There's a few Japanese. I think there's a Japanese player as well. I think Yu Darvish is.
He's there? I didn't know
He was in
that.
San Diego. Yeah.
そう。
ダルビッシュが。
ダルビッシュ
サンディエゴ。
サンディエゴだね、彼はね。
パドレスね。
あったかい地域の方がいいんだよね、スポーツ選手はね。でもついでに聞くけど、そのまあ俺はなんか話聞いたこと実はマークマンからあるんだけどさ、そのマークマンのいや今はだいぶもう日本に来て馴染んでるけど、あんまり日本に来たこともなくてにこう西海岸で育ったわけじゃん。でそのあんまり日本に来てなかった頃の日本人のイメージってどういうイメージを持ってたの？
You know, I've always had the impression that the Japanese people were just very respectful. And I've learned, at least through the business side, that it's important to have that respect, because if you don't have it, it's so hard to earn it back. And I guess that's, you know, the only thing I thought about when I first came here, is that it's important to be very respectful of the culture, but also the business practice. I think more than any other culture, I think the face-to-face meeting and business meetings in this region is more important than anywhere else.
ロジックよりかはスピリットだよね。俺は逆にファイティングゲームコミュニティ見た時にうわーザ・ウエストコーストだなって思った人が2人いて、テイスティ・スティーブとリップね。彼らのトークを見てうわー俺の中での西海岸のイメージそのままの2人やつがいると思ったのがリップとテイスティ・スティーブだね。
Well, I believe that's maybe more your guys' fault, because you guys make such an exciting game.
だといいけどね。じゃあまあ本日はようこそ来ていただいてありがとうございましたってところと、まあ今日のこう感想を言っていただいて最後締めたいと思うんだけど、今日は来てどうでしたか？
It is very.
Your episode.
It was very surreal to be here, because again, I haven't seen you guys in over 2 years. And I've been following what you have been doing, especially with the show. And I think, again, if you guys don't watch this, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. This is an amazing show. But it gave me something to look forward to. I remember when you guys were doing the casting show, deciding which guests would appear, and you guys mentioned my name. I felt so honored to be part of that list. So I'm very happy to be here to be able to talk to you guys about just life in general. So I think it was a very good experience. I do have one question though.
僕は逆に質問あるんですけど、
Yeah, go ahead.
How come you didn't ask me that question?
ああ忘れてた。I told
Tell you are?
No. If I can see ghosts.
Ghosting。そうじゃああえて今最後に聞くけどマークマンはこれでもアメリカ人にあんまり聞いたことないな。マークマンは幽霊は見えますか？
No.
No.
However, I'm not scared of anything, like in terms of ghosts or supernatural or maybe even aliens or anything. I don't believe in it. I'm not scared of it. But I have had very interesting experiences where I thought that there may be something supernatural.
それは例えばどういうどういうエピソードか。
I was staying at a hotel once.
ホテルは多いね。
And the night before, I was talking to a friend, and she was telling me about her experiences with ghosts. And she said she was so scared to talk about it. If she talks about it, she feels like she's summoning them to be around. So I was like, whatever, I don't believe it, right? So I woke up the next day, and in my room, the lights were flickering, and there was an alarm sounding off. I go to the light, it's not even plugged in, but the lights were flickering, and the alarm was going off. So I was thinking, this is weird. I caught it on camera, so I recorded it. But it was an interesting experience.
ポルターガイストみたいな感じだね。
Like a poltergeist or
Yes,
something?
just like a poltergeist. But it was a weird experience because there were two lights flickering. Neither one was on.
それは幽霊だね。
幽霊。
そうです。
いやでもね、これ面白い例があって、例えばアメリカでもそうなかもしれないけど、日本って実は例えば東京だと割と海外の人もたくさん死んでるわけですよ。ある意味無念の死を遂げてる人もたくさんいて、あんま知られてないけど実はあんまエチオピアの人とかね、何人か死んでるわけですよ。それは病気だったり事故だったりいろいろあるけど、あとブラジルの人とかだけど、そういうエチオピア人の幽霊見たとかブラジル人の幽霊見たって人はほとんどいないわけ。ほとんどいないって聞いたことないよね。で例えば奈良県っていうのはその戦国時代と言われる日本がガーってさ合戦してた時代にほとんど戦がない地域だったの。で戦がなかったはずの場所で落ち武者を見たっていう人がいるわけ。おかしいじゃんいろいろ。であとは動物の霊も見る人いるんですよ日本では。犬とか猫の霊はたくさん見るんだけど、実は日本でもウォンバットっていう動物がいるんであんま知らないのみんな。ウォンバットって言われてもパッと思いつかないでしょ。でもウォンバット何匹か死んでるんですよ日本で。でさぞかし彼らは無念だったはずですよ。でウォンバットの幽霊見たやついないんだよね。っていうことからもう分かるように、多分人間は見たことないものの幽霊は見れない時点でなんか俺ちょっとおかしいんじゃないかなと思ってんだよね。
I got it.
そもそもアメリカと日本であんなに幽霊の描き方が違う、表現が違う映画とか見ても、あとエピソード聞いてもさ、ネットフリックスとかにもそういう体験になる。
The way they're portrayed is quite different from the West
全
and
然
Japan
違うよね。その時点でなんで違うんだと思うよねっていうところかな。だからまあ見えないんだね基本的にね。
見えない。残念。
残念。
Too bad you can't see ghosts, huh?
Too bad.
もうすごい俺の偏見だけど、これ本当に偏見だけど、リップとテイスティスティーブは絶対見えてないよね。
I feel like maybe Tasty Steve can.
I thought so too.
I think so
Who?
too. I think so. Maybe Tasty Steve can.
Yeah.
He has interesting stories about that kind of stuff. Maybe you should ask him next time.
面白いストーリーいっぱいある
持ってんの
みたいだから。
でも
ちょっと聞いてみて
申し訳ないけど、テイスティスティーブの場合は勘違いなんじゃないのかなっていう
そうか。
あのノリで幽霊見たって言われても信じられないよね。
Maybe.
聞いてみるし
Ask
か
him
ない
next
です
time.
ね。
多分ほとんど夢で見てるよね。お前が
Maybe he's sleeping.
That's the thing is most gamers don't sleep. Maybe that's why. Maybe delusional.
That was our special guest for today is MarkMan.
Okay. Thank you.